Welcome to our Wednesday healing meditation service. Before we start, I want to thank Joel Gutman and Gracie for the garden and also mowing the lawn before my solstice. And he fixes different things, like we had a sign that somebody must have kicked their foot into at the very front of our property, or it could have been an accident. Maybe they had too much to drink or something. I don't know. But Joel fixed it. Any little thing like that. And you've got to experience the garden where our labyrinth is and see what's growing there. It's amazing. It's like there's a wildness to it that you know the fairies are dancing there. It's not just this perfectly laid out garden. It is the feeling of the leprechauns and the elves. You must go and just walk in that presence. If you're having a bad day, go out to that garden. That will lift your heart. Walk the labyrinth, and by the time you come out of that labyrinth, you will be past whatever you're going through. We do not need to live in anxiety and bad feelings when there's so many things that we can do to get out of it. We want the people that are watching this to come back. Let's join together in bodies sitting next to each other. Let's be part of lifting the consciousness of the world right now. Come back. Don't just sit in front of a screen. Get back to being with people and mingling. Checking out our wonderful bookstore that has so many incredible items. Heather, who is our secretary, it's the best store in town. You'll never find anything else, anywhere else that's in our store. The vibration's incredible. And if you want to pray tonight and you didn't happen to get it on the list, please write it on a piece of paper and put the name into the prayer box. Then I will pick it up while Jack is speaking, and it will go on to the list. It'll be prayed over for a month, and then it will go to Silent Unity. So it's a really praying for the whole soul of that person. It's not just the thing that was wrong. It's just getting them on that path, onto the path of meditation, being one with the Creator. And I use the word Creator because it's not male or female. So we've been so programmed with the he. And we don't want to go he, she. And Creator is the creator of everything. So if you have a little bit of a problem, that like I do, I come from, my father was Native and my mom was Russian. And we did ceremony, and it's just right to just call it the creation, the creator of the creation. Okay, so we're going to do a chant, and it's a call and response. And I just, I'll say a line, and then you answer. Open my eyes, to see only love. Open my heart, to feel only love. Oh, love, to think only love. Open my mouth, to speak only love, to open my eyes, to see only love, open my heart, to feel only love, open my mind, to think only love, open my mouth, to speak only love, illuminating love, illuminating love, from the ascended one, illuminating love, from the ascended one. All I have to do is remember, every breath I take is your love. All I have to do is remember, every breath I take is your love. Breathing in your love, breathing in your love, brings peace and compassion, brings peace and compassion. Open my eyes, to see only love, open my eyes, to see only love, open my mouth, to speak only love, open my eyes, to see only love. Open my mind to think only love. Illuminating love from the Ascended One. Illuminating love from the Ascended One.
Good evening, everyone. The object of our spiritual endeavors is to realize we are first, foremost, and always ethereal soul beings who are going through a dimension of reflection by choice. In the dimension of reflection, we have the opportunity to be awake to our thinking and our actions. We can reflect upon our thinking and our actions, and then we can determine what is really harmonious, beautiful, and valuable, and what is not harmonious, beautiful, and valuable. And all of this information becomes part of our soul consciousness. And the mind, as we refer to it these days, mostly stands between the ethereal soul awareness and the physical material awareness of the world. When you study A Course in Miracles, or for the most part, the teachings of the masters, you hear the inference that the mind is the cause of all human trouble. And there's a story that relates this. It's about a man who was marooned on a deserted small island for 20 years. The only reason why he was rescued because he had put a note in a plastic baggie and stuck it inside a conch and blew the bag up, and so the conch floated through the ocean and was picked up, but somebody saved it, found it and saved it. It became a decoration in their home. It was only after many, many years that someone looked into the conch and found the note. But even so, they called the Coast Guard and said, we have this note about someone who's marooned on one of the Seychelles Islands. And they gave, the direction as best they could from the note. And the Coast Guard, almost only out of curiosity, went to the island. And the captain and a few other of his mates took a skiff and went to the island and did indeed find the man who'd been marooned there for 20 years. And there were 3 structures on the island, thatch-roofed structures. And the captain asked the man, "What are they?" And the man pointed to one and said, "That's my home." And then he pointed to another one and said, "That's my church." And the captain said, "What's the other one?" And the man said, "That's the church I used to go to." That story clearly indicating that the mind may be the cause of most of our human troubles. Eckhart Tolle, the modern day master, does not say that the mind is evil. He says that the mind is creative. An interesting way to put things as well. And he also said this, which if you listen to it, you have the entire essence of A Course in Miracles in a paragraph. But this is from his book, Tolle's book. You could have taken this out of A Course in Miracles, but this is from Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, on page 15, if you want to look it up. Identification with your mind creates an opaque screen of concepts, labels, images, words, judgments, and definitions that block all true relationship. It comes between you and yourself, between you and your fellow man and woman, between you and nature, between you and God. It is this screen of thought that creates the illusion of separateness, the illusion that there is you and a totally separate other. You then forget the essential fact that underneath the level of physical appearances and separate forms, you are one with all that is. By forget, I mean that you can no longer feel this oneness as your self-evident reality. You may believe it to be true, but you no longer know it to be so. I'll read that to you again. This is an essential, basic truth. Once we begin to recognize that we are ethereal, divine souls that have taken on a human experience for the purpose mainly of reflecting, because it's through reflecting that we can learn and grow and then make a conscious choice to be in the world but no longer of it. Many people don't fully understand how that changes everything. But listen again to this from The Power of Now. Identification with your mind creates an opaque screen of concepts, labels, images, words, judgments, and definitions that block all true relationship. It comes between you and yourself, between you and your fellow man and woman. He's talking about this barrier of incessant thought that stands between you and inspiration or knowing or vision, as the masters sometimes refer to it. Between you and nature, between you and God. It is this screen of thought that creates the illusion of separateness, the illusion that there is you and a totally separate other. You then forget the essential fact. What it is saying is that we are so conditioned and have lived in this state of appearances, of thought, of intellectual, conceptual ideas, that we have lost touch with the reality of our being, the reality of our soul consciousness, the mission that we are not only on, but is still taking place. For the soul is the recipient of the decisions that are made through creative process and reflection. The illusion that there is you and a totally separate other. You then forget the essential fact that underneath the level of physical appearances and separate forms, you are one with all that is. By forget, I mean that you can no longer feel this oneness as self-evident reality. You may believe it to be true, but you no longer know it to be so. In this fast-moving, high-tech society in our Western world, we have inadvertently, I suspect, become worshippers of the human intellect. We suppose that the thinking process of the human intellect is the highest form of awareness or living. And we don't recognize that the human intellect, while it still serves in many ways to help us navigate through the world of reflection, it is also the cause of useless, unnecessary suffering. It is though we have taken this instrument called the mind, which as something we would use to benefit the soul awareness, but then we have given our total allegiance to the mind and its thinking process in the world of appearances, and lost touch with the divine awareness. And so the mission has flawed. But it causes useless, unnecessary suffering. You know this because the mind can create distrust, resentment, and indifference and self-deprecation. I don't know, most of you probably know someone who is self-deprecating in a sense. They see life in such a way that they feel they are victimized by conditions and circumstances. In essence, for the most part, anyone who hasn't achieved the divine awareness yet doesn't know how to feel good, doesn't know how to feel completely good. If you knew yourself to be an ethereal soul consciousness going through a human reflecting experience, you wouldn't have given all of your allegiance to the thinking process of the mind. And while its evaluating abilities are very necessary to a degree, those abilities also bring about useless suffering. And for the most part, that is the problem or the human dilemma that we suffer from. It's useless suffering. There is suffering in the world, real suffering when a loved one is lost in our family, when we lose an important position that we needed to finance our lives. Things happen that are true and real suffering. But the greatest amount of suffering is created by our illusion of a separate self, and not an understanding of our interconnectedness with everything we look upon. And while we can do some really beautiful evaluation by still understanding ourselves to be divine in origin, we've lost that connection. And so now we are astray in a world in which we have relied upon the incessant thinking that has brought us to a limited level of being. And once we begin to recognize that, we will give more of our attention to spiritual practice, wherein we will become the disciples that Jesus wanted to be in his final prayer to the creation itself. I do not pray that you take my disciples out of the world or the thinking of the world, but that you keep them from the evil of forgetting that they are divine beings interconnected with one another on a unified mission of awakening. And the mind can be used for amazing things when it is operating from a highly inspired level. And when you recognize the beautiful things that the mind can create, music, incredible dance, incredible scientific creations and technology that serve the human race. And so many other things, the writing and the expression of those people who are in touch with that inspiration, the soul consciousness, the light prevailing over the incessant thinking that is generated by fear. The fear that I will not have enough. The fear that continually drives me to try to manipulate the conditions and circumstances I see outside myself in order to bring about something better in the future. But that's not going to happen unless someone arrives in the awareness of their essential soul consciousness, their interconnectedness. Because the only real power that creates in the experience of everyone is love. So whatever is going on in your experience to some degree, you're loving it into expression or fearing it into expression. And so, as we practice, we come to the realization that we have this divine source within us, but many people at some point never really again attempt to align their thinking with this divine awareness. And so they go through life and they embrace a victim consciousness. It may not be as overt as it is in some people that are totally paranoid and sick, but still somehow they feel that life is cruel and it doesn't have any real benefit for them. And they're just slogging through, trying to make things work, trying to figure things out all the time, spinning and spinning and spinning in their thinking. How can they make it work better? How can they make it work better? Instead of doing spiritual practice, which is quieting the mind, allowing the mind to rest, and being still for a while. And that brings the awareness into the moment. Let me just try to relate this in a way that might be of value. Trying to bring the mind back into that divine awareness of the interconnectedness of all things, to bring you back to the present moment. If all of what you have thought and all that you have attempted to bring about and all that you have piled up as far as material well-being and whatever, if you came back to the moment with all that goes on, that collection that you refer to as yourself, that is the collection of your personal life that you refer to as me and mine, if you were to come back to this moment and honestly be present in this moment, surrendering the attachment that has been created in your mind with all of these things that you refer to as me and mine, if you were to surrender that attachment and become present, you would enter a state of divine bliss and joy and insight and love and peace. So let me show you, if I can, what we are missing in the illusionary state of consciousness. Everything that we take for granted every day, every moment, the miracle of being alive, wanting more, adding more, collecting more, fixing more, maintaining more. And the miracle of being alive, we're not living. So close your eyes for a minute. And if you can, imagine having no awareness, nothingness, dreamless sleep. That's it, just dreamless sleep. And then, for 5 minutes, there is any 5 minutes of your life in the world. Just this dreamless state of nothingness. And then there's 5 minutes of your life in the world. What would happen in you in that 5 minutes? You would be so dazzled by the miracle of it. You would be toppled. You would be broken in heart and mind completely. Oh my God! 5 minutes of this. You would be so enamored by it that the only thing you would want after that is to get back to that colorful 5 minutes. But we take it all for granted. Every day, every moment, slogging through the taken for granted attitude without gratitude, without bestowing peace and love because we're ethereal beings. And so our lives are messed up because we've lost our connection with creation, our ethereal soul awareness. When I talk about being in the world and not of the world, I talk about it sometimes like this to people who are on the journey, and it's beautiful. When they're on the journey, at some point, people will say to me, "Oh, you have to read this book. I read this book. It's everything. It's everything." I can't take the book. My life is really built on the inspiration and the creativity that I'm sharing with you all the time. I don't have the time to read all these different books. Sometimes there'll be a book that's worth reading. But here's the difference. The difference is, I say to them honestly, I no longer read for information. I only read for inspiration. If you're still reading for information, self-help books, trying to figure it out, working it out, there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of good ideas in there. But it also comes back to the spiritual practice, which quiets the thinking process. For short periods of time, it doesn't have to be long periods of time, a moment, 2 moments of inspiration. And then from that to know that you are a creative being. And perhaps you've surrendered your creative beingness to the idea that you think that somebody who creates something, the thought of that creation came to them full-flown in their mind. They were so blessed that they knew how to create the X-ray machine, or they knew how to create this incredible cantata, or they knew how to create this amazing choreography. It all came full-flown, or they knew how to create this new 3D creating machine, and it came full-flown. It never happened to anybody that way. It didn't happen to Steve Jobs or any of the big high-tech characters that you read about. It didn't happen that way to them. They had an inspiring thought, and they followed it, and they worked with it. And then more things came in as they built upon it. And as they continued to create and work with it, as it came together, more came together. And that's the way the creation works. So people surrender their creativity because they think, well, if it doesn't come full-flown, you should have it laid out in your mind like that, and then you can just figure it out and work it through. That's not the way it works. It works by feeling inspired about something. It can be anything. You want to build, tiny houses for, senior citizens. And you want to figure out an inexpensive way to do it. And you throw in the towel on that. Or you might figure out something like you have this idea about a theatrical piece. You say, well, nobody will ever listen to it. Nobody will ever want it. And it's not coming full-flown. I don't know what the whole thing would really be about. I just have this inspiration. You see, what you're doing is you're shutting down the divine consciousness, your soul awareness, which already knows how to put together what it is you need. And it comes to each of us piecemeal. Doesn't come full-flown. And so if you follow your inspiration every day by doing your spiritual practice and being inspired and being willing to be open to the idea of you're interconnected with everything, and you start to feel that gratitude of the miracle of being alive, you want to do something with this miracle of being alive, and you have the gratitude. My goodness, I'm alive today. I'm alive now. There's a great song. I just thought of it. Trying to think of which show it's in. It's in one of the Broadway shows. I'm Alive. It's the name of the number. How this person discovers, I'm alive, I'm alive. And most of us have slowly almost gone to sleep. So, to follow our inspiration and to live creatively with gratitude for living itself will open us up to become more and more alive. And you don't have to create something or anything. You just have to be able to be awake in the moment where creation is taking place, in every moment. In that blessedness, you'll feel the joy and the love of being alive. You will stop taking life so for granted. And that's what's putting us to sleep and holding us in separation and fear instead of love and gratitude. Okay, I'm going to sum up a little bit here. I must have another quote here. Yeah. I don't like this quote. It doesn't say exactly what I would like it to say. I could have picked a better one. I don't know. The reason why I didn't pick a better one, even though I am inspired, I have a new puppy that's 3 months old in my office, destroying everything, eating everything, chewing on everything. And it's hard for me to stay in my peaceful place. I'm really very good with the whole thing, except that this evening he did in fact shred my most working Bible. I got a hold of it. He got up on the chairs where I didn't think he could get up, and got up on the desk. And but in any case, I'm not suggesting that we go without challenges and difficulties. And let me finish this up by saying, when you get involved in the creative process, it is not all beer and roses from beginning to end. Your inspiration carries you through, but it carries you to a place where you actually can meet the obstacles that appear in the process of creation. There are obstacles that appear in the process of creation. There are things that you have to work through. That's not the best part of what you're doing, but it is the part that you need to work through. It gives you the strength of understanding and insight when you meet the challenges that come with whatever it is you're creating. And it may be that you're only creating a more present, beautiful life. You are creating a more present and beautiful life, and wherein you are willing in every moment to give and receive peace, give and receive compassion, give and receive love and joy. And when you're doing that, the entire universe is with you. Because that is, people say, well, what is the will of God? I don't know what the will of God is. I can't figure out if it's my will or God. I'll tell you, I've just told you what the will of God is right there. The will of God is that you should find full happiness in the awareness of your eternal divine self and use it in relationship to this particular dimension of experience where you bring things into manifestation and you live in the manifest world. And that will be your complete happiness. So, but let me say this, if you're very busy in your life, don't take on a new puppy. Okay? I love him so much. There's no way for me to make him pay for the destruction he's actually done, here and at home. But he's beautiful in that because he's real. That's who he is. He's perfect. He's real. If you stick around for some tea after this is over, I'll bring him out and you can see this beautiful creation of God's. So now we're going to check in to that divine space with this crystal bowl. And then we're going to, after we listen to the bowls for a while, maybe just a couple of minutes to become present and centered, I'm going to add some affirmative ideas while we're listening to this beautiful bowl. Okay. And thankful. Be still and thankful that your heart's desire is divinely inspired. Follow your dream with patient love. Accept and deal mindfully with obstacles that arise. Be open to guidance and assistance throughout the creative process. Be thankful for the intrusions and inconveniences that come upon your path in your living process. Be thankful and bless the inconveniences, for they come to bring you patience. Be still and thankful that your heart's desire is divinely inspired. Follow your dream with patient love. Accept and deal mindfully with any obstacles that arise. Be open to guidance and assistance throughout the creative process of living. Be thankful for the obstacles and the inconveniences that arise on your path. also are helping you into that place of divine awareness. Be thankful and know that your heart's desire is divinely inspired. Follow your dream with patient love. Accept and deal mindfully with any obstacles that arise. Be open to guidance and assistance throughout the creative process of living. Be thankful for any obstacles or inconveniences that arise on your path. Bless them. Be thankful, for they also are helping you into the divine awareness. Bless it all. Be grateful for it all. Every moment of the miracle of being alive. Bless it all. Be grateful for it all. This miracle of being alive. Let us take a few moments to pray for those whose names have been submitted to our prayer list. As Norma calls the name, just let the thought, "You are love," go out to that name.
Kathy S. Mariolis Herrera. Mariana Frazier. Ann Rostello. Musa Sadikin. Becca Wilson. Sally Ann Wilson. Veronica Rego. Jeremy Lee. Jenna Longley. WWM staff. Grace Goodman and Joel Goodman. Kelly, Jesse, and the rest of the McFarland. Mary and Lloyd. Kathy May Court. Joe, Jim, Jennifer, Amanda, Mark M., Heather Billieu, Tom Cannon, Carol Eddy, Jane Eddy, Rebecca, Bob Miller, Brenda, Chris Salter, Heather Kipp, Beryllism, Veronica Grego, Sally Ann Wilson, Tom Wilson Jr., Sue Hollingsted and family, Steve Sheets, Ed Sheets, Shekinah Fisher, Chris Salter, John, the people of Ukraine and Russia and all affected by war, Lori, Jack, Tate, Joel, Dan, Tim, Tom, Valerie, Shaking Ho, Valerie, Pamela, Carol Monette, Don Monette, Karen, Sandy, Jim, Joe, Janie, Jeff, Jennifer, Jeff W., if you'd like to call out a name now, you can. Shad, never know. We see this healing light surrounding the prayer box and all the people's names that have been submitted. We see them healed physically, mentally, and spiritually.
As we go forth from this meditation to those places we occupy in time and space, let's go forth with a greater determination to practice the presence, to recognize the sacredness and miracleness of all life. And for this opportunity in every moment, we give thanks. To this we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. And I'd like to say to those of you, especially watching on screen, while we have more people watching on screen these days, I would like to say that some of you could do us all a favor by making a donation, maybe a recurring donation of some kind. It doesn't have to be a lot. Maybe $10 a month, 20, 50. It's up to you. 1,000. But give something back so that we can continue to support what takes place here at Unity of Boulder. And now let us take into our minds that financial gift we'd like to make to Unity, and let's bless it with this offering prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is.
Mother, I feel you under my feet. Mother, I hear your heart beat. Mother, I feel you under my feet. Mother, I hear your heart beat. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey yo.
Join me now, please, as we dedicate this tithe to the will and the work of the Spirit of truth. The Spirit available to each of us, the Spirit that joins all of us. We dedicate this tithe to the victory of the Spirit of truth. Amen.
After each service, we're going to be doing discussion, the 9 o'clock service on Sunday and the 11 o'clock service. So we really want the people to be able to communicate with one another. And so we're going to be opening that up so everybody can meet one another and leave having a friend.
Right. We're creating closer community.
Absolutely.
Okay. Santisha will be back in the pulpit at the 11 o'clock service on Sunday. I'll be doing the 9 o'clock service. To all of you, thanks for showing up. Good night.